والصلاة والسلام على رسول
Yeah.
الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. We begin in the name of Allah, the Creator, the Sustainer, the All-Merciful, the All-Knowing. And we say, peace is upon the final messenger of God, Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Peace be upon him. If I can have everyone's attention. How's everyone doing? MashaAllah, not bad, not bad. On behalf of IIOC, that's the Islamic Institute of Orange County, I want to welcome you all tonight to our main event, which is our Journey to Islam series. As most of you know, we've been doing a series on many different people that have embraced Islam, that accepted Islam, to try to see some of the reasons of why they accepted Islam and some of the challenges and maybe the difficulty that they faced. Because we as a community need to educate ourselves and educate other people about this as well. It's a very beautiful thing that's happening with many people embracing Islam. But at the same time, we should have knowledge. We should have some type of an education on what it requires. What are the challenges that they face? So this is our main event today. Earlier we had halal taco night. So most of you, I think, were here. How many of you actually got food? If you can just raise your hand for me, really high. Okay. So I do want to apologize. I know we ran out of food. We are being live streamed right now, so I'm letting them know as well that they missed out as well. So don't feel, but we're very blessed. We had a lot of food, but alhamdulillah, all thanks to Allah, we actually ran out of food. So again, if anybody purchased food and you didn't get food, we'll go ahead and reimburse you. Just let us know, inshallah, okay? But this is something I hope and I pray everyone enjoyed it. And one of the reasons of why we're doing this event is to show our community the diversity that we have within our community. You'll be surprised at the diversity that we have. And so inshallah, today's plan is we're very honored and blessed. We have two of our new Muslim family members that recently accepted Islam. And they're going to talk about their journey to Islam. Okay? And we have a series of questions that I'm going to ask both of them. And then at the end of our event, inshallah, we have an open question and answer session. So if you have any questions at all, I would encourage you, so you don't forget, go ahead and write it down. And at the end, we're going to have a volunteer that's going to line up right here in the center with the mic. So for you, if you want to ask your question, that'll be the time and place to do so. As long as it's not a criticism towards the food, it's okay. Everybody awake? I just want to make sure everyone's all right. Okay. Secondly, we're very blessed that we have many of our non-Muslim neighbors, co-workers, family members that are here. So just by a show of hands, how many non-Muslim friends and neighbors do we have over here today, or family members? If you can just raise your hand for me, I would really appreciate it. All right. Just wanted to welcome you folks. And one of the promises we give is that you won't be taken hostage. May Allah bless you. I was just kidding. So I want to make sure. We're on camera, so I want to make sure, right? Spice things up with the salsa, inshallah, right? All right, perfect. Let's go ahead and get started. So to my right over here, we have Sister Rosanna Gomez joining us, inshallah. And to my left, we have Brother Frank Carranza joining us here. And both of them, actually, their family members are here. If you can just raise your hands, family members of both Frank and Rosanna, I would really appreciate it. Just raise your hands up. Okay, we have them here. Yeah. We have them here and we have here. Perfect. And third, before I forget, this event that we did, the Halal Taco Night, it was spearheaded by our volunteers, specifically within our New Muslim department. So many of those that individuals outside that were either giving you the ticket, giving your food, they were someone that recently accepted Islam. So what I will ask everyone to do on your way out is when you see them, most of them, if not all of them, have name tags, or you can recognize them from their stations, please make sure to thank them. Yeah? Make sure you thank them, because this took a lot of effort and a lot of work. And if anybody's interested in joining us as a volunteer here at the masjid, you're most welcome to do so. All right? All right. So we're having a lot of people come in. I'm going to ask you if there's empty seats, if you guys can move up so we can have more people coming. And we have chairs on the outside as well. Volunteers, if you could just keep your eye on that, I would really appreciate it, inshallah. Tayyib, bismillah. We begin in the name of God. So I have a series of questions, and I hope this represents the number of questions that our community has as well. Frank, if it's okay, I'm going to start with you. We are being live streamed, so we want to make sure everyone can hear the audio as well. I would really appreciate it. May Allah bless you all. Okay, first question that I have, and I think many people have as well, just if you can lay a foundation down, can you tell us about your life before accepting Islam? What was your life, what did it consist of, and was it, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for allowing us to be here. Can you hear me? No? Okay. How about now? Much better? Okay. First of all, thank you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to be here, and it's amazing and mashallah to have all of you here. We thank God for everything that He has put together. So, going to Jamal's question, so I mean, it's been a wonderful transition. You know, I can probably say in that aspect, I grew up as a Catholic. That's how I was raised at the beginning. My mom and my dad actually raised me, and I went through the whole catechism as a child. Did my everything that I was supposed to do as a Catholic, and so I had the foundation that I was kind of pushed into that religion when I was first born. And then after that, when I turned 14 years old, I came to live with my grandmother here at the States. And that time, unfortunately, we had to go to Mexico to live when I was Catholic. And the reason being is because we were not in really strong finance stage at the time, so I had to kind of like go and transition myself to live back with my grandmother so that I could continue my studies here in the States. After that, my grandmother introduced me to Christianity, and that was back in the mid-90s when I was in high school. So in the midst of that, I was again pushed into a religion where I really didn't understand what Christianity was. As fact, also for being a Catholic, I really didn't know what Catholic or being a Christian was at the time. So with that being said, I kind of was doing my own research, my own questions to the different leaders from the different churches that I met. And I couldn't get the answers because in reality, when you are seeking God's love, you want to know exactly why are you praising Him and looking for Him. So I really had a lot of doubts when I was a Christian, and I still wanted to know more. So what I began to do was I kind of was dissecting the Bible on my own, kind of trying to pinpoint why were these books in the Old Testament and why was in the New Testament these other books, who were the different prophets in each category. So I really didn't understand why. And then I would ask the questions, and it was just kind of thrown into me, well, that's because it's just written there, and that's how it is. So I really didn't have a really good understanding or foundation of why I was a Christian. So I had to just continue with that. Throughout the years, I got married, and I share the same knowledge with my children. I just kind of introduced them into Christianity without even knowing exactly what I was teaching them. So with the time that I was kind of encountering, I met a friend, his name is Mirwais Back. He was from Afghanistan, and I met him in the valley, and he kind of introduced me to Islam. He kind of told me, you know what, let me go back a little bit. He was my professor at the DeVry University, and he was also my kind of like a mentor type of thing at the time when I had some questions in regards to Islam. But I was like, I don't know if that really is what I was looking for at the time. So that we're talking back in 2001. So I wanted to kind of get more information about that. So after that, I kind of did my own research in sense of Islam.
Now, I'm going to pause you real quick. I have a question. So within the church, did you have a significant position? I know you mentioned you were you part of like the music there, or the chorus or something of that nature? Did you have, I remember you mentioning something like that previously when we spoke.
Yes, so when I first arrived to Christianity here in '94, I became a teacher for the little kids. I used to give classes to the toddlers, And I did that for a year. And then after that, I transitioned myself into what's called the sound system. So I went ahead and I went to school to kind of learn more about music recording and stuff so that I could help the church a little bit more. So throughout the years, I went probably about 15 years of my life recording, and then I also learned how to play the wind instruments like a trombone, trumpet, and tuba, and so on. And I learned only that by ear. I really didn't know how to read music. I actually don't know how to read music. Everything
Never
was
went
by
to
ear.
school or anything for that?
Never. So all that I was able to read it just by ear. And I mean, with God's blessing and love, I was able to actually record a couple of albums with the church that I used to attend with. It was a lot of fun, but at the end of the day, there was always that question mark in my heart. There was always that emptiness in my heart, wondering, okay, I'm doing all this, I know I'm doing it for God, but what is the purpose? Why am I really doing all this? Why am I up here praising you? Okay, what is that I have to teach out of this? I am satisfying my own soul, my own body, my own self, but what am I going to give to others, like my children?
Perfect. I appreciate that. Sister Rosanna, I'm going to throw that question over to you. Before that, just for the audience, so I know, may Allah bless you all and keep you all smiling. I know we have a lot of children and kids here. Just to make sure that everyone can kind of concentrate, I would ask if there are children in attendance that need a little bit of attention maybe outside, or if they're screaming or anything of that nature, I would ask you to please, if you can maybe go outside into the lobby or the play area, I would really appreciate just to make sure that everyone can kindly concentrate, inshallah. May Allah bless you all. Sister Rosanna, I'm going to ask you the same question. Tell us about your whatever you're comfortable with, your life before Islam, just so we understand a little bit of some context.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rosanna. I am Mexican American. Have 4 children. I was baptized and raised Catholic. As a child growing up, I was practically, obligated to attend Mass every Sunday. But there was really never that spiritual connection that I believe we all look for in life. And so growing up, I just kind of grew up just kind of following whatever was taught to me, whatever I saw, whatever was asked for me, go to church, pray, but really never found answers. I grew up living a somewhat troubled life as a young child, as a young adult, and I was unhappy with the way my life was going, and I would often question, God, why He had given me this life, why did I have to suffer so much? I just didn't understand, why I was being put through all these trials in my life. And so it made me become somewhat angry at the world. I would walk around with a unhappy face. Even people would often tell me after they, got to know me, oh, when I first met you, I thought you were really mean because you have this serious look in your face.
A reminder for all of us, make sure everyone's smiling here at IIOC. We want to be welcoming to everyone.
But I think it was more of like a mask that I would wear in order to shield away everything that was going on inside of me. So this was my life, I could kind of say, before Islam. Like I mentioned before, it was a very frustrating life. I would go to bed crying. Sometimes I would pray to God, sometimes I would question God, but really I wasn't doing anything to really, I can kind of say, deserve for Him to listen to me, because I wasn't committed to anything. It was more like, why? Always questions why. Why am I living this way?
Would it be accurate to say you believed in a creator, but maybe you weren't following a specific way of life or religion?
I always believed in God, and as a child, I was taught in Catholic that there's God, and then there's Jesus Christ, the Son of God. That's what I was taught. But I would often, I grew up confused. I grew up confused because I would hear people cry out to God, and then I would wonder, well, which God are you talking about? Some people would say God, some people would say Jesus Christ is God. So I always kind of
So a sense of confusion when as you're growing up.
Yeah, I was confused, but I never really took the time to do my own research. I just kind of went with the flow. Okay. As a child, I was also exposed to the religion Jehovah's Witness. I kind of put myself in the situation to kind of try to get to know Christianity, but nothing really stuck. There was always still the questions.
Perfect. Okay. So I guess a second question, Frank, I'll ask you this question. And before that, I want to do a short survey, if it's okay. How many people in here are maybe reverts or converts to Islam? Somebody new to Islam? If you can just raise your hand for me, I would really appreciate it. If you can raise them high, please. All right. So a good number of people that converted to Islam here. Okay. Perfect. Frank, I'm going to ask you this next question. And Rosanna, I'll ask you the same question. What intrigued you about Islam? So now you have the lifestyle that you're coming from, you're part of the church, you're teaching, you're in the music band, etc. What sparked that interest in Islam, about Islam in you? And again, I know we can't do justice to it in like 20 minutes, but if you can maybe just,
I know,
do your best.
Well, it was a beautiful spark, and I'm pretty sure that I can speak for everyone that has reverted from other religion now to this beautiful religion we have as Islam. When I was a Christian, so I did my own research, like I was previously saying, and so I began to kind of like read the Quran on my own to try to figure out what it was about when my friend had introduced me to Islam. So what I did was I was kind of like comparing the Bible with the Quran at the time to try to kind of see, okay, what's the similarity we have, But some of the answers, I will find them in the Quran. And that kind of caught my eye, For a couple of years, I was just reading and just kind of studying it on my own to try to kind of see what Islam was about. And then it finally came into my heart, It's just kind of like said, this is actually what I've been looking for. The answer that I've been looking for in sense of that feeling where the truth is being told to you. And when I saw that, I felt so much peace. At the time, I needed some help to try to figure out how to get more help in sense of Islam, because there's not a lot of help out there to try to kind of see how to start, how to where to begin,
what to do and how to begin. Yeah.
So that's kind of like the obstacle that I was facing, and thank God, a friend that I had at work was able to kind of like guide me in sense of what to do. So when I asked my friend to guide me, we were able to contact Sheikh. I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with him. He's Sheikh Yasser Fasaga from Mission Viejo. And I remember my friend was calling, trying to get Sheikh to talk to me. And it was probably a couple of weeks, and we couldn't get a hold of him until I said, you know what, I'll call him myself. I'll leave him a message, and I'll let him know that I'm really intrigued, trying to figure out more about Islam. I remember I left him a message, and I said, you know what, Sheikh, this is Frank, and I'm practically new at all this, and I really need some help and some guidance, and I really need you to return my phone call. immediately that same day, he called me back, and I remember he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I've been so busy and everything." So we were able to meet the next day, and it was such a great experience to meet with him because when I went, it was the first time that I actually walked into a mosque over at Mission Viejo, and I was just looking at everything, kind of like different
Were you
wording.
nervous? First time walking into the mosque? Or because you hear a lot
I
about
was
the
not
mosque.
nervous. I was actually excited to be in there because I mean, it's everyone that actually received me really friendly at the mosque, and that was really nice to see. And then he kind of like say, "Are you Frank?" "Yes, I am." So it was the first time we had met, and then we went over to inside the mosque, the masjid, to kind of talk with one another, and he was able to kind of give me more advice in regards to how Islam was all about. He asked me certain questions in sense of why, how will I feel, kind of like Jamal was doing right now. So it's a wonderful experience, you know. It's something that I really don't know how to explain. Until this day, I mean, I can literally say, I feel like if it was yesterday, the time that I been transitioning into this. And every time I come here, I'm looking at everyone and I feel like I'm at home. You know, I'll go to another mosque,
Allahu Akbar.
and I feel the same way, you know, because I can feel the warmth of everyone, and it's converting to Islam. I guess it's been such an amazing touch from Allah. I mean, I sometimes see most of you that are Muslim, that were born in Islam, and I say, my God, you guys have it all from the beginning. And we don't, you know. We actually don't have that. And to walk in, to feel it, it feels amazing. And I can just tell you how much love I can actually tell you that it feels, and you should feel too.
You know, I'm gonna add one thing, Frank, if it's okay. You said something very profound, but I think all of us in attendance would rather ask you to pray for us, right? Being that most of us, I would think most of us, or a good percentage of us, maybe are born into a Muslim family, so we were born into it, if you will. You chose it. Sister Rosanna chose it, meaning you had to really look at life and say, hey, is this the choice I want to make? Maybe sacrificing my job, my family, a title, so many different things. Whereas most of us, maybe we're born into it, so we don't really appreciate being a Muslim. And this is one of the reasons why we have events like this, to really make sure that we all here appreciate what we have, this blessing of being a Muslim. You really don't understand unless you sit down and you really contemplate about it, you know? So I want to thank you for that. I'm going to pause you real quick because I want to actually talk about your actual Shahada, when you actually became a Muslim. But I want to ask Sister Rosanna if it's okay. What sparked your interest about this? Was it kind of similar to what Frank said, or was it way different? Or I take it way different.
Yes, it was different. I actually was not looking for Islam. I was introduced through my sister. She took Shahada almost about a year and a half ago, and my sister and I were very close to each other. So everything we did together, going out, eating, everything together. She's the pilot, I'm the co-pilot. And all of a sudden I lost my pilot. She started, saying, oh, I'm gonna be going to the mosque and I can't go with you today. And I started to feel a little bit lonely, wondering, well, who am I gonna hang out with now? So I said to myself, well, if she doesn't come with me, then I guess I will have to go with her. So that's how I started to attend the mosque. First, I started attending just social events with her, with the sisters. and visiting the mosque. After that, I started attending the new Muslim class, the 101 classes. Again, just feeling very welcome all the time that I was here. And for one of the Ramadans, I was introduced to my sister's mentor, which is now my mentor, Sister Nisha. And I remember sitting across from her at the table and just looking at her pure smile. And
May Allah bless you. I can't like hug you or anything, you know, so just may Allah bless you. I'm praying for you. I can like, you know, praying, but I Inshallah.
sorry,
No, it's okay.
I'll get it together.
No, you're totally fine. May Allah bless you. May Allah keep you happy. Yeah, I know. We can say Ameen, it's free. You don't have to pay for that. Ameen. MashaAllah.
So just sitting in front of her and seeing the happiness in her and me wanting to have the same thing, the same feeling. Wow. I didn't think I was going to do this.
I thought maybe it was a salsa. Or the onions or, yeah. I don't know.
Okay, I'll get it together.
No, you're fine. Don't worry.
Okay, so then I remember one time Brother Jamal was giving Shahada to one of the sisters here, and before that, I would be asked a lot, well, you're here pretty frequently, why don't you just convert? And I was very hesitant, and I would say, I don't need to change my religion. I'm fine the way I am. I believe that there's a God, and I feel that I'm a kind person, and I don't think there's a need for me to change my religion. And I remember that it was after class on Sunday, Brother Jamal was giving Shahada to one of the sisters, and it really moved me seeing the sincereness in Brother Jamal, and I felt like, wow, you know, they have good intentions. These are good intentions. They don't mean bad, you know, for me. They want something good for me. So I think those were some of the moments that really started to make me reflect and think that this was the right religion for me. Also,
Yeah, I know you mentioned, sorry to cut you off. I remember you mentioned something about when your sister Blanca, she had the... You get, okay, perfect. I just wanted to hear that one because it's amazing. She'll fill you in right now. Don't worry.
So one of the other moments that I had that really just, you know, like engraved in my heart, I visited my sister's house, and she was getting herself ready, and I remember she was very excited. And she showed me a Quran that Sister Nisha had given to her as a gift. And I remember really admiring it, and I said, wow, this is a really beautiful book. And she said, go wash your hands. Your hands has to be really clean in order to touch this book. I said, okay. I washed my hands, and she said, okay, I'm gonna finish getting ready. And she left me with the book. She didn't ask me to read it or anything. I was just admiring the beauty of it. So I decided to open the Quran, and I started just, you know, glancing and kind of reading. And I came across chapter 2, verse 8 and 9, that kind of answered not my question, but what I have been denying to everybody. The fact that I didn't need a religion, that I didn't need to commit to anything, that I was just fine the way that I was living, just knowing that God existed, and as long as I had my own personal relationship with God, I didn't need a religion. And I'm pretty sure everybody knows which verses these are, but I will go ahead and read them. It's chapter 2, verses 8 and 9. There are some who say, we believe in God and the last day, yet they are not believers. They seek to deceive God and the believers, but they only deceive themselves, though they do not realize it. And when I read this, I felt like it was just like, it was speaking to me. It was telling me what I kept on denying. And
Did you randomly open it and that was,
well, I
or
started at the beginning.
okay,
of
got
the,
it, got it.
And I read further, but this is what
That just
really,
caught your attention.
This is what really caught my attention. Yeah. So that's how Islam was introduced into my life.
Since we're here, take me through you actually becoming a Muslim, if you don't mind, like your actual declaration, your Shahada. Take us through that, if you mind. And the reason I'm asking for that is because, maybe many of us in here were born Muslim, so you don't really understand. We might just take it for granted. But when you see someone that actually gives up everything for the sake of God to come to His way, and the challenges that they have to go through, the trials that they have to go through, we hope that we appreciate it more, right? So if you don't mind, Sister Rosanna.
Yes, of course. It was a very exciting moment for me when I made the decision. I told my sister, I said, you know what, I think I'm ready to take Shahada, and I'm ready to commit to this religion. And she said, oh my God, wow, everybody's gonna be very happy. And I said, but don't tell anybody, I want it to be a surprise. So we were getting ready to have a bonfire at the beach. And I said, this is the day that I want to take Shahada. I felt like go big or go home.
Yeah.
I wanted everybody to kind of be there. And so I told my sister, the day came, and I told her I want to dress in white that day because to me it's like white is pure, and I wanted it to be a new beginning for me. So we went to the beach. We did the bonfire, and everybody was getting ready to do the sunset prayer. And that's when my sister notified Brother Jamal that I was going to take Shahada. And we decided to do it after the prayer. And my kids were there. I have 4 children, and my kids were there. My sister was there. All the sisters that I know from the mosque, and the brothers from the mosque were there. And we were surrounded also by strangers. People that were actually enjoying their evening were there too. But for me, it was like I didn't care who was around me. This was my special moment. And so as the sun was setting, we went ahead and performed Shahada, and it was a very special moment. It was like
it's like right on the beach, right? Like
right
actually on the beach.
Right
Yeah.
at the beach in the open. You can hear the waves crashing.
It was cold.
It was
really cold.
It was a little
I
bit
remember.
windy, but it gave it a better effect. I can just say that.
Like the beard was just flying this way.
So it was a beautiful moment.
Just kidding.
Like Brother Jamal mentioned, for those of you that were born into Islam, I'm pretty sure that it's different. And I mean, all I can say that it was a very special evening, and that will always live in my heart and in my mind. It replays over and over again.
If I can just add, when we were there, so we had this, and I'll talk about it in a few minutes, inshallah, or closer to the end. We have a lot of different social activities we do for our new Muslim department to make sure that they're part and parcel of our community, right? It's not just somebody becomes Muslim and, okay, Allahu Akbar, and then now, okay, learn everything by yourself. That's not how it should operate, and that's not how we operate here. You have to have a support system. So we have a support system here for a number of years. The moment somebody embraces Islam, they have a family, they have mentors teaching them how to pray, make wudu, things of this nature, but at the same time, to enjoy yourself, right? To have halal activities, things like that, to make sure that families come and so forth. And we're very excited. And Sister Rosanna mentioned her sister, Sister Blanca, also embraced Islam. This is about a year and a half before, right?
Yeah.
Rosanna.
Yeah.
And she actually did it here at IIOC as well. And I'm not sure if you folks know, but they actually don't live in the Anaheim area or even close. They live like in the Inland Empire. So they commute here for our classes that we have, and that just shows the amount of dedication that the sisters have, and so many of our new Muslim family members. So I really appreciate it, and may Allah bless you. And that day you had your family there to support you as well. And obviously, I mean, they're not Muslim, but they respected your decision of becoming a Muslim, right?
Yes.
So, you know, that was just, for me, I know me personally, that was just really, really emotional to see that, you know. So Frank, I'm gonna pass it to you, if you don't mind. Can you, now you mentioned you were with Sheikh Yasser at the Mission Viejo Masjid, and Sheikh Yasser Fazaga is no stranger to our community here. He's been here for a number of years, a number of times over a period of number of years. So you maybe make an appointment with Sheikh Yasser, and then I think tell us about, I don't want to give the story away, but I remember it was very interesting.
I know, it's a little, it's a funny story actually, because I remember after weeks of talks and meetings and stuff, so I finally called Sheikh Yasser, you know. I'm ready to take Shahada, I told him. It says, oh, mashallah, that's wonderful. So, and I told him, so what do I need to do? He says, well, you just gotta, we're gonna do the Shahada, and then I'll get you to walk up to the front, and then you can do it in front of the brothers. And I said, okay. I thought that was pretty easy for me. So I was like, what is the Shahada? I didn't know what a Shahada was.
Oh, you're saying, what is a Shahada? You didn't know?
I didn't know at the time what it was.
You just had to do the S thing. Yeah, right.
So I asked him, so he kind of told me, wow, is this? And then I kind of, I was trying to memorize it. I remember I was trying to memorize the Shahada. But in the midst of everything, I was really happy because it was Ramadan when that was happening with me. I was experiencing my first Ramadan with everyone, not being a Muslim, just seeing everybody, how happy and everyone was. And I remember my friend again from work told me, you have to get some really nice clothes because you're gonna take Shahada. So, oh my God, so more to the plate. So. And then I remember I was looking trying to see what to wear and everything. I couldn't even think. I remember my mind was all over the place. And that morning, I was driving and I was trying to memorize the Shahada. Now, while I was driving, I was repeating, trying to memorize it. So by the time I got to the mosque, I had it all figured out. So as soon as I walk up, I go to the mosque and I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, you went blank?
I went blank. And I told one of my brothers, I remember, Faizi, and I told him, Faizi, I can't remember the Shahada. Don't worry, Sheikh Yasser is going to help you. And I said, okay. So I walk in, I sit down, and I kind of sat up all the way in the back, and all of a sudden the whole mosque is like filled that morning, because it's the last day of Ramadan. And
wait. So this is the last day of Ramadan?
Yeah, the last day of
taking your Shahada?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
The last day of Ramadan. So I'm sitting down, and I said, I hope he does it after the service or something. And I see him walking in, and the first thing he went into the microphone and says, "Is Frank here?" I'm sitting all in the back.
Paging Frank.
Oh my God. And there I go. I have to walk to the front. And as I'm walking, I'm looking at the mosque. It's like super filled. And I was about to sit down. No, you're going to do Shahada right now. It's like, oh my God. So, okay. I was really excited that time. As soon as I walked up to the microphone and he's like with me, he kind of whispers, don't worry, we're going to say it in Arabic and then we're going to say it in English so that way you don't get all nervous. And I thought, why didn't you tell me that? I've been practicing.
Because you thought you had to memorize it.
Yes.
They didn't tell you.
He didn't tell me that. And
it's one of those practical jokes probably they were playing.
So I felt more at peace. So then we put the microphone, and I remember I'm looking at all the brothers and sisters there. And the first thing that came to my mind, well, when I was about to do the declaration, is just, this is where I want to be. You know, I'm looking at I was looking at all of them, and I'm like, you guys have no idea what you have. this is what I've been looking for, you know. And as I'm saying the Shahada in Arabic, I'm repeating while Sheikh Yasser is saying it. And of course, I'm going to break down. And I still remember like if it was yesterday. And then I said it in English. But you want to know something? When I was saying in Arabic, it sounds with more spice, you know. That's how we say it in our culture. With more spice, more energy, more love. It felt wonderful when I was saying the Shahada. Because I was comparing it with the times that I was Catholic, when I was a Christian, and when I took Islam on my own. You know, I was not pushed. I was not born into it. It was actually something that grew in my heart for me to take. And when I took the Shahada and I said it that day, it's because it was born in here. And I want to tell you that I will do it in infinity times, again, over and over and over.
Wow.
You know, it's something that every time I talk about it I just relive that moment so much. And seeing my parents here, and just listening to what my adventure has been from Christianity to Islam, and now that I've settled, because this is what my heart has been looking for, it's just bringing me more joy than ever. You know.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allah bless you. Thank you so much. I know it's not the easiest thing to ask you both to open up and share your journey, so we really appreciate it. I know I'm having a lot of fun. I'm sure you guys are having a lot of fun, but I don't want to hold you guys too long. I know it is a Friday evening, so we'll be concluding very shortly. Just bear with us and stay with us. Just in closing, maybe in a minute or so, and again, I do apologize, but how is your life now after Islam, if you don't mind? So you before Islam, you mentioned it, you became a Muslim. Now it's been maybe a number of months since you become a Muslim. How is your life? Has your life changed? What keeps you busy now? If you don't mind, very quickly.
Very quickly.
I know I can't. I apologize. It can't be too quick, but.
Well, I can't really show you what has changed. I think it's inside what has changed. What I asked for so much when I broke down, when I said that I wanted that pure smile that Sister Nisha carried around, I think that's what I got. I have joy within myself. It's made me much more calm. My issues, problems, they just didn't disappear from one day to another. It's been 3 months, but it just feels like I no longer carry the load. I've given it to Allah, and He's seen me through everything, and I just walk with more ease. I'm more happy. I have a better relationship with my kids, and then it's actually brought me closer to them, being able to include them in the activities that we do here. So, in a nutshell, it's really changed my life internally.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. Frank, if I can ask you the same question, maybe if you can just summarize your life now after becoming a Muslim.
It's amazing. I want to say it's amazing. It's something that I've never thought that I would live it ever in my life. One thing that I can certainly say is that the relationship between my mother and I has been repaired. You know, it's something that I thank God so much for, and Allahu Akbar, because He is just the one that did everything. Not only that, my dad is here. Never expected my dad to be here, and I'm so full of joy to see him here. Something that my son did a couple of days ago. We're actually just finishing watching the Dodger game, and he comes over, and before I drop him off, he tells me, Alhamdulillah. And I said, I kind of like, what?
Say what?
He caught me off guard, and I said, what did you say? He said, Alhamdulillah. You put that sometimes on your posts when you're posting pictures and comments, and says, oh, do you know what that means? He says, I know exactly what that means. That means praise, all praise goes to God. And I just said, wow. He says, yeah, I love that word, Dad, so please use it with me every time you're actually using it. And I mean, I want to know more. I mean, there's so much to learn. There's so much to kind of grasp. Right now I'm reading, trying to research as much as I can, you know. But the nice thing about it is that while I'm researching it, while I'm reading about Islam, it's filling all the little gaps, all the little holes all the question marks are being answered. And right now I'm actually attending California Islamic University. I encourage all of you. The knowledge that I'm receiving at CIU, it's amazing. This is my 3rd semester. I'm actually taking 4 classes right now. I'm working full time. Not to brag, 2-hour drive back and forth.
2 hours, right?
It takes me 2 hours every day to get to school. But I would not change it for a bit. You know, I have my wonderful brothers, wonderful sisters here from CIU too, that together we are in that amazing journey to learn more about Islam.
Allah bless you. 2 hours is a long drive. I thought I had to drive, but wow. So, okay. In 30 seconds, I'm going to ask both of you if it's okay. Just some last minute suggestions, advice, feedback, if you can, for all of us here as a community. But before we do that, I just want to let everybody know a few things, some of the services that we have here at IISU. As you know, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think our masjid here is probably the only mosque nationwide that has a full-time dawah and outreach department. I don't know of any other that has a full-time service like that. So, if I can just really quickly, there's a number of services that we have that I want to make sure everyone here knows. We give guided tours of the mosque. So we actually have a number of people that are not Muslim, that are interested in Islam, that want to learn more about Islam. One of the ways that we reach out to them and educate them is to give them actually tours of the mosque. And this is something very interesting because many people, and this is something I've been finding in my experience, they think the mosque is only for Muslims. They don't know that it's open, that they can come in and observe and watch. So what I want everyone here to do, and this is being live streamed as well, if you're in different communities, you all have neighbors, you have co-workers, you might have family members, you might have friends that might not be Muslim. Invite them to the mosque. Contact us. We have a number of volunteers that actually give guided tours of the mosque and show them what the mosque is, what Islam is, and who Muslims are, okay? That's the first thing. Number 2, our outreach department does a number of presentations at churches, colleges, universities, middle schools, high schools, you name it, because we're getting a number of requests, as I mentioned some months back. With everything going on with the political climate, the rise of Islamophobia, we're getting a lot of people in schools, churches that are reaching out to us. So if you want to join our outreach department, I would highly recommend you to do so. We have a table outside. You can just go ahead and sign your name up. We'll give you training, we'll help you out, etc., right? But just make sure if you're interested or you know someone that's interested that they'll sign up. Number 3, we have a number of free items outside. Free English translations of the Quran, a number of flyers about different topics about Islam, all outside. So if you have neighbors or co-workers, you want to make sure you give them something, right? And this is something very important for us here to do. And having said that, the table is outside. On your way out, if you're interested, please go ahead and sign up. We're going to have our outreach representatives there as well. So as we're closing, and it's hard for me to close because I think I'm having a lot of fun, and I think everyone else is, but maybe if you can summarize in a minute or 30 seconds, if you will, feedback, suggestions, advice, something that maybe we can learn as a community from maybe your journey or anybody else's journey.
I did something in Christianity that benefited me a lot that I now do. It's being kind of like a missionary. What I mean is, talk about Islam to those that don't know anything about it. You know, when they come in here, let's greet them, you know, with that smile, with that energy of love that we receive from Allah. You know, let's just not be quiet, not be shy about just saying hi or salam alaikum to someone. because the first impression is what the non-Muslims will receive. And we always want to portray our love towards them, And there's a lot of them, especially at work. They all know that I'm Muslim, and they come and talk to me about it. Says, "Oh, Frank," my staff even reminds me that don't forget that you have to pray, which is really nice because now they're asking, and I'm so intrigued to just share what Islam is about. Let's not lose that.
All right, man. Allah bless you, Sister Rosanna. If you can, if you have any advice or suggestions.
Just touching on what he said, just continuing to welcome the people that are not familiar with the religion. I can speak for myself that if I wouldn't have felt as welcome as I did when I started attending here, I don't think that I would have been so ready as I was to take Shahada. I think the feeling that I felt every time that I walked in here just gave me the security that I was in the right place. So if I could just give one advice to the born Muslims or even the converts, it's just to continue to welcome, the new Muslims that are just learning and the people that, are interested in learning about Islam.
Allah bless you. With that, we have just a few minutes for questions. So if you have a question, if you can just raise your hand. I'm going to go ahead and just pass this mic around. Brother Fuad, I'm just going to pass it to him. If you have a question, I'll just ask you just to raise your hand high so he can come to you. If you don't have any questions, no worries. But if you do, just go ahead and raise your hands, please. We have one here, Fuad, if you don't mind. Yeah. And please, if you can, one thing, just keep the questions under 10 seconds, please. Because if it's longer than 10 or 15 seconds, then it's going to be like a statement, and you should be up here talking, but that's not the, So if you can, just to respect everyone's time, just keep it under 10 seconds, please.
Assalamualaikum and welcome aboard. My quick question is, I don't know if you guys do that right now, but if you care about somebody so much, do you guys invite them to Islam? Literally, whether they, like you shared a little bit and you care about them, you approach them about it. I don't know, but sometimes the people that you really care about and you want to approach them directly, like finding a match, like a marriage almost, like, how they are, they value morals, and this is like a match. Islam, you find a match for them. So I don't know if you shed light on that.
So is it directed to anybody specifically? No, Frank or Rosanna, you guys want to?
Okay. I think by the way you portray yourself, I am not ever going to push anybody to Islam. In Christianity, that happened. In being a Catholic, it happened. But I think in Islam, there's no need. Because by the way we portray ourselves, by the way we share our love towards everyone, they ask you, why are you this way? Why are you that way? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? That's when I introduce Islam to that person. That's the best way.
All right, questions? You want to raise it? Nobody has questions? It must be in a food slumber or something. Tacos must be really good. If there are no questions, then we're fine. Okay, perfect. So with that, we'll be here for a few minutes if anybody has any private questions. Also, again, I wanted to, a few things. Number one, just thank you all for taking time out and joining us here Friday evening for Halal Taco Night. I really appreciate it. Before everyone gets up, please just give me 1 minute. So we want to do this more in the future, so I hope you guys will support us and join us. And also, again, if you want to volunteer with us or in any capacity here at the mosque, just go ahead and sign up. Number two, I wanted to thank all the volunteers that helped with this. Again, please understand, this was like a volunteer-led effort, and specifically from our new Muslim department. So when you see them with the name tags, please make sure on your way out you thank them. Number three, again, I want to thank all of our non-Muslim friends and guests and family members that came here. Frank's family, Rosanna's family here, a number of other people. Also, we have with us Sister Madison, and her parents are here for the first time. Folks, if you can just raise your hand for me, I would really appreciate it. Right, it's the first time they're here at the mosque. So I want to make sure that everybody takes time out and welcomes them, please, because they're our guests, and this is the first time they're coming, and we want to make sure that we greet them with open arms. So make sure we do that. Again, tables outside. I'm going to have everyone please help me. We have our volunteers as well. We're going to be, so again, the centerpieces and the decorations, they're for the mosque. So please, I know we would be giving it away if it was like a wedding or something, but we're not actually at a wedding, so I have to kind of turn it back in. So If somebody did take it just by mistake, if we can have them bring it back, that'll be great. And then we're going to put the tables and chairs away. If everyone can help me with that, I would really appreciate it. May Allah bless you all. Have a safe trip back home, and we will see you all very soon. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك السلام عليكم ورحمه الله وبركاته